In the near future, an astronaut is sent to a distant planet that, by all parameters, is suitable for human life. However, the landing goes awry, and upon reaching the surface, the astronaut discovers that it's Earth in the year 2580 AD, populated by robots.
Right now, they're my only hope of getting home.
In the opening scenes of the movie, a voiceover explains that two space stations are orbiting Earth, named Machine 1 and Machine 2, with one of them being dedicated to searching for intelligent life on distant planets. The other machine is in orbit around Earth. Once Machine 2 discovers a habitable planet, it opens a spatial temporal tunnel between Machine 1, allowing astronauts to travel tens of light years in just a few seconds. The fully autonomous Machine 2 travels to the chosen planet, but communication with it can only be established once it's in orbit. And that day arrives. Machine 2 arrives at the new planet and collects the necessary data. Now, a human must land on the planet to conduct geodetic reconnaissance. Astronaut James travels through the spatial temporal tunnel, thinking that his mission is straightforward, since he has explored other worlds before. So, he prepares for a standard flight and landing. The AI of the spacecraft begins the countdown, establishing a connection with the previously launched Machine 2. Soon, it docks with the space station. Preparations for landing on the planet begin, and the astronaut transitions to the landing module, followed by a descent from orbit. However, during the landing, there is an increase in speed, and then, for an unknown reason to the astronaut, the ship crashes. James takes a long time to regain consciousness, lying on the grass. When he finally realizes what has happened, he surveys the inhospitable planet and soon finds the burning remnants of his landing module, concluding that he is stranded without a means to return to orbit, and thus he cannot make it back home. The astronaut hesitates for a long time before the moment when he must remove his spacesuit helmet, even though all indications suggest that the planet's atmosphere is breathable. However, he ultimately takes the risk and breathes in the unfamiliar air. After James confirms its safety through personal experience, he sends a message to Earth, confirming their expectations. At first glance, the planet appears to be empty but suitable for life. Now, he will wait for a message from Earth about the expedition sent to rescue him. James surveys the area, hoping to find surviving supplies, but all he finds is an empty thermos, which frustrates and irritates him. However, he manages to find a surviving emergency bag with a small amount of provisions. Night falls, but James can't sleep on the ground. In the morning, still awaiting a response from Earth, he sets off in search of shelter, and most importantly, water. Soon, he discovers a stream and analyzes the water, which turns out to be suitable for drinking, giving him some hope. James takes a short rest by the stream and continues his journey. Soon, he spots an unknown moving object in the distance, which he tries in vain to observe through binoculars, but he can't figure out what or who it is. Hoping to find support, he waves his hands, and in response, he gets a shot. James starts running, hoping to hide from the unknown enemy. Two robotic figures follow his trail. Eventually, he takes cover behind some rocks, and the robots, unable to locate him, depart. Soon, James finds an old road and decides to follow it, as it should inevitably lead to human habitation. However, flying objects pass overhead, and he runs in their direction, stumbling and rolling down a rocky slope, ending up at the base of a huge tower clearly built by intelligent beings. He enters the tower, and finding a protected corner, falls asleep from exhaustion. Upon waking up, James looks around and comes to the disheartening conclusion that no one is coming to rescue him. Nevertheless, he sends another message to Earth about the presence of robots on the planet, indicating the existence of intelligent life. This gives him hope for a return home. Exhausted by the heat, James continues along the old road, periodically resting on the side and conserving his meager food supplies. During one such stop, he falls asleep and wakes up alarmed by unfamiliar sounds. Crouching down, he watches a robot and a mechanical dog that have appeared nearby. Waiting until the robots move further away, James runs toward the forest. He wanders among the trees for a long time, periodically resting, but the robots eventually find him. James starts running again, and as he slips, he falls, injuring his arm. Fueled by fear and helplessness, he grabs a stick and launches an attack. He strikes the robot, smashing its front sensors, and the robot begins to circle helplessly, trying to locate the human. James continues running despite his injured arm. Convinced that there is no pursuit, he bandages his arm and loses consciousness. James wakes up to the presence of someone nearby. Opening his eyes, he sees a robotic dog. James grabs the stick again, but the robot dog remains calm and doesn't attack. James notices a food package he had dropped and picks it up, then heads in the direction where, during his struggle with the robot and subsequent escape, he lost his bag. The robotic dog obediently accompanies him. They continue their journey together. Soon, on the roadside, James finds a bottle labeled Jack Daniels, and while he sends a message to Earth about the discovery, the dog calmly stands by. Then, James spots a small stone house with a collapsed roof nearby and rushes towards it, hoping to find someone alive. However, he is disappointed. The house has long been abandoned and in ruins. Nevertheless, James enters the building. Strangely, the electricity turns on inside. James examines the surroundings, which appear as if the inhabitants had left only recently. He finds a weapon and a video projector on the table. When he turns on the projector, he sees footage from a family chronicle. Children play in the garden and blow soap bubbles. Adults barbecue and drink wine, discussing the threat of war that no one believes in. Everything looks just like Earth from afar. James also finds newspaper clippings in a box filled with photos of explosions and heightened political tension. Then, helicopters fly over the people in the footage, followed by a nuclear explosion. The projector stops. Tears fill James's eyes. Later, he reviews the newspaper clippings again and finds a plan of an underground command post, which is located nearby. He spends the night in the house, dreaming of his child. In the morning, he finds the robotic dog waiting by the door, which has stayed by his side. James tests the found gun, and it turns out to be in perfect working order. He gathers what he can to help him survive and leaves the house, accompanied by the dog. Soon he realizes that the robot dog is not just a parody of an animal, but a mechanism created for carrying something. He places the bag on the robot's back, and the dog, releasing special grips from its mechanical body, obediently carries the load along a path known only to it. Deciding that it is heading towards its home, James hurries after it and eventually arrives at the ruins of buildings. He sends another message to Earth, indicating that the planet's surface seems to have suffered from a terrible war. In his opinion, the machines followed the instructions of their creators, who presumably hide underground. He hopes to establish contact with them. Currently, he is near a small bridge and plans to use the local technology to find a way home. Meanwhile, the robot dog, reaching a certain point, stops. Taking the opportunity, James has a meal and then loads the bag onto the dog, following it once again. Soon, the robot dog leads him to the ruins of a small settlement and stops once more. James realizes that this was the purpose of their journey but sees nothing remarkable in the surroundings. Suddenly, a smoke grenade falls from the dog's side. Confused, James watches as a smokescreen forms when nearby artillery shells explode, one after another. Drones appear overhead, targeting precisely that area. James takes cover in a ruined building, calling the dog to join him, but it remains in place, calmly enduring the bombardment. Realizing that the dog doesn't respond to his shouts, James rushes to it and grabs the bag. Only after this, the dog follows him into the building, where they try to hide from the drone's bullets. Soon, another drone arrives and they systematically shoot the area. Then ground robots appear. James has to hide behind the surviving walls as the robots engage in a battle with each other, which surprises him. Taking advantage of this, James escapes from the house when one of the drones disables another drone. James manages to escape from the dangerous settlement and continues his journey. Soon he comes across a massive artillery piece in the middle of a field, which opens fire when a drone approaches. While the gun is distracted by the enemy, James descends into a bunker. As he walks through the bunker's corridors, an unknown substance suddenly disperses in front of his face. After catching his breath and regaining consciousness, he returns to the bag, takes out a mask and a pistol, and then re-enters the bunker. James explores the deep corridors where electricity still functions, trying to find the true owners. Suddenly, he hears mechanical footsteps and encounters a robot, which he tries to shoot with the pistol. However, he fails, and James runs through the corridors as the pursuing robot continues its advance. But it turns out that the robot is heading toward an unknown goal and doesn't pay any attention to the human. Soon, behind an open door, James discovers a human skeleton. Immediately after that, he receives a message from Earth, informing him of communication malfunctions and promising immediate assistance. James continues his journey and finds the control center, where an AI voice informs him of the presence of chemical weapons. James realizes that this is Earth after another world war and he has somehow ended up in the future. On the surveillance screens, he sees numerous human skeletons scattered throughout the building and becomes furious. How could humans have done such a thing? Suddenly, Earth contacts the astronaut and informs him that help is already close. James sees newspaper clippings where people blame aliens for everything, leading to mass panic and exacerbated by the absurd decisions of governments. Completely demoralized, James emerges to the surface and witnesses a space station, Machine 1, crashing down to Earth. He realizes that he won't be able to return to the past. In despair, James points the gun at his head but decides not to shoot. The film is low budget but still interesting. It's a poignant reminder of what could happen to our world if humanity doesn't wise up and stop destroying itself. Otherwise, it's entirely possible that robots will outlive the supposed pinnacle of divine creation, humanity.